Admiral Du Young Lee stood at the front window of the UES Dauntless, looking at the stars. His ship was the biggest in Earth's fleet, but today it felt small, very small. The alien ships in front of him were 5 times bigger than his vessel. "Sir, they're sending another message," said Officer He Jin at the communications desk. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook slightly. Du Young took a deep breath. This was humanity's first meeting with aliens, and everything was going wrong. The aliens, who called themselves the Nexar, had appeared near Mars 3 hours ago. Their ships were dark and looked like giant black diamonds. "Put them on the main screen," Du Young ordered. The screen lit up, showing the alien leader. The Nexar looked almost human, except for their silver skin and completely black eyes. "This is your final warning," the Nexar leader said in perfect English. They had somehow learned Earth's languages very quickly. "Your species is unstable. You make weapons. You fight wars. You must surrender now, or we will destroy you." Du Young kept his voice calm. "We are a young species, yes, but we are learning. We want peace. Let us talk about this." The Nexar leader's black eyes seemed to grow darker. "No more talk. You have 10 minutes to surrender." The screen went dark. Du Young turned to his crew. 20 faces looked back at him, waiting for orders. They were the best Earth had, but they had never fought aliens before. No one had. "Sir," called out Officer Minho from the radar station, "the Nexar ships are moving. They're heading toward our Mars colonies." Du Young rushed to the radar screen. 5 massive alien ships were moving toward Mars, where 10,000 humans lived in dome cities. "Send warning messages to all Mars colonies," Du Young ordered. "Tell them to activate their shields and prepare for." A bright flash lit up the bridge. On the main screen, they watched in horror as one of Mars's smaller outposts exploded. The Nexar hadn't even waited 10 minutes. "They're firing at all colonies," Minho shouted. "Shield levels dropping at New Armstrong City and Red Haven." Du Young grabbed the ship-wide communication system. "All crew to battle stations. This is not a drill. Repeat, all crew to battle stations." He turned to his weapons officer, Yi Jun. "Target the nearest Nexar ship. Show them Earth isn't defenseless." The UES Dauntless's main guns fired, sending bright blue energy bolts toward the alien ship. They hit the Nexar vessel's shields, which flickered but held strong. "Their shields are too strong," Yi Jun reported. "We barely hurt them." Another flash. This time, it was Red Haven Colony. 2,000 people lived there. Now it was just broken dome pieces floating in the thin Mars air. "Send emergency signals to Earth," Du Young ordered. "Tell them we're under attack. And send all our scan data about their ships. Every bit of information could help." He Jin's voice shook as she sent the messages. "Sir, Earth says more Nexar ships are appearing near Jupiter. It's not just us. They're attacking everywhere." Du Young looked at the main screen again. The Nexar ships were moving with perfect precision, destroying everything in their path. They were stronger, faster, and more advanced than anything humans had. But they had made one big mistake. They had attacked without warning. They had killed innocent people, and in doing so, they had just started a war with humanity. Du Young's voice was firm as he gave his next order. "Set course for Earth. We need to prepare our defenses." He paused, looking at each crew member. "The Nexar think we're unstable and dangerous. Then let's show them just how dangerous humans can be when we're fighting for our survival." As the Dauntless turned toward Earth, the crew watched Mars grow smaller behind them. The red planet's surface was now marked with the burning remains of human colonies. It was no longer just about first contact or peaceful meetings. This was war. Dr. Ji-Woo Park walked quickly through the underground halls of Earth's Defense Center. Her footsteps echoed off the metal walls as she carried a heavy black briefcase. 2 armed guards walked with her, their faces serious. They knew this meeting could change everything. The United Earth Council chamber was deep underground. When Jiwu entered, 50 council members looked at her. They had been arguing about how to fight the Nexer for 6 hours straight. Their faces showed worry and fear. "Dr. Park," said the council leader, "we've lost contact with 3 more colonies. The Nexer ships are getting closer to Earth. Please tell us you have something that can help us." Jiwu placed her black briefcase on the table. Her hands were steady as she opened it. Inside was a small silver device about the size of a coffee cup. It looked simple, but it was the most complex thing humans had ever made. "This is the reality cascade," she said. "My team has been working on it in secret for 5 years. We never thought we would need to use it." One council member leaned forward. "What does it do?" Jiwu touched a button on her tablet. A 3D image appeared above the table, showing complex patterns of energy and matter. "It changes the basic rules of physics in a specific area. Think of reality as a calm pond. This device drops a stone in that pond, and the ripples break everything they touch." The room was completely quiet. Everyone understood what she was saying. This wasn't just a weapon. It was something that could change the universe itself. "Is it safe?" another council member asked. "No," Jiwu said honestly. "It's the most dangerous thing we've ever made. But the Nexar have left us no choice. We've studied their ships. Their technology needs stable quantum fields to work. This device breaks those fields." Suddenly, all the screens in the room lit up red. A military officer rushed in. "The Nexar have destroyed our bases on Europa. They're moving toward Earth faster than we expected." The council leader stood up. "Dr. Park, how many of these devices can you make?" "We have 3 now. We can make more, but it will take time." "And you're sure they will work against the Nexar?" Jiwu thought about all the tests, all the calculations. "Yes, their advanced technology will make them more vulnerable, not less. But," she paused, looking at each council member, "once we use this, there's no going back. We'll be changing the rules of the universe itself." Another alert sounded. More bad news from space. More human colonies destroyed. The council leader's voice was firm. "We don't have a choice anymore. Dr. Park, you have full authorization. Make as many devices as you can." Jiwu nodded and picked up her briefcase. As she walked out, she thought about what they were about to do. The reality cascade wasn't just a weapon. It was like using scissors to cut the fabric of space and time. If they weren't careful, those cuts might never heal. But as she heard more emergency alerts, more reports of destroyed colonies, she knew they had to take the risk. The Nexar thought humans were dangerous and unstable. They had no idea what humans could do when they were truly desperate. Jiwu reached her laboratory and looked at her team. "Start production immediately," she ordered. "It's time to show the Nexar why they should have chosen peace." The Reality Cascade project was no longer a secret. Soon, it would become humanity's most powerful weapon. And the universe would never be the same. Captain Sun Mi Kang pressed herself against the cold wall of Europa Research Station. The emergency lights cast red shadows everywhere. Her team of 4 Special Forces soldiers moved silently behind her, their boots making no sound on the metal floor. The Nexar had taken over the station 3 days ago. They kept most of the human scientists alive, probably to learn more about Earth's technology. That was exactly why Sun Mi's team was here, to find out what the Nexar had learned, and maybe learn something about them too. "Movement ahead," whispered Sergeant Daho through their secure radio channel. 2 Nexar guards. Sun Mi held up her hand, signaling the team to stop. She pulled out a small device that Dr. Park had given them. It created a tiny quantum disruption, just enough to interfere with Nexar technology for a few seconds. She pressed the button. Down the hallway, the Nexar guards' weapons suddenly sparked and shut down. Before they could call for help, Sun Mi's team moved in. The fight was quick and silent. "Their armor is different up close," Daho said, examining the fallen guards. "It looks like it's made of living metal." "Take samples," Sun Mi ordered. Every piece of information helps. They moved deeper into the station, toward the main research lab. Through the windows, they could see Jupiter's massive form filling the sky. Somewhere out there, the Nexar fleet was preparing to attack Earth. The main lab's door was locked, but their quantum disruptor made quick work of the security system. Inside, they found what they were looking for, and more. Dr. Park's voice came through their radio. "Captain, what do you see? We're receiving your video feed." Sun Mei looked around the lab. The Nexar had set up their own equipment everywhere. Strange machines hummed with energy. But what caught her attention were the displays showing complex quantum field diagrams. "They're studying quantum fields," she reported. "But it's more than that. Every piece of their technology seems to need a stable quantum field to work. Their weapons, their ships, even their communication devices. That confirms our theory," Dr. Park said excitedly. "The reality cascade will work even better than we thought. Their entire civilization depends on quantum stability." Sun Li moved closer to one of the displays. "There's something else. These readings, they're not just studying quantum fields. They're afraid of them being disrupted. Look at all these safety protocols." A loud alarm suddenly blared through the station. "We've been detected," Daiho warned. "Download everything you can." Sun Mei ordered her team. "We need this data." Heavy footsteps echoed from the corridor. The Nexar were coming. Sun Mei's team quickly connected their devices to the alien computers, copying as much data as possible. 30 seconds until data transfer is complete," reported Private Min Seo, her fingers flying over her device. The footsteps got closer. Sun Mei readied her weapon and the quantum disruptor. "Dr. Park, are you receiving the data?" "Yes, it's coming through." "This is incredible. The Nexar, they're not just advanced. They've built their entire civilization on quantum technology. But that makes them vulnerable." The lab door exploded inward. Sun Mei threw the quantum disruptor at the first Nexar soldiers who entered. Their weapons and armor immediately failed, leaving them helpless. "Data transfer complete," Min Seo shouted. "Fall back to extraction point," Sun Mei ordered. As her team retreated, she looked one last time at the Nexar equipment. They had what they needed now, the key to fighting back, the key to survival. But as they ran through the station's corridors, fighting their way back to their ship, Sun Mei couldn't help but wonder, if they used the reality cascade, if they disrupted quantum fields across entire star systems, what else might they break? What price would both sides pay for this knowledge? They would soon find out. Commander Taiwan Kim stood in Earth's main defense control room, studying the large screen that showed humanity's remaining forces. The number of blue dots, representing human ships and colonies, had gotten smaller every day. The red dots of Nexar forces kept growing. "Another attack on the lunar bases," reported his assistant. "The outer defense ring is holding, but barely." Taiwan touched the screen, zooming in on the moon. The lunar bases were humanity's last line of defense before Earth. They had to hold. His phone buzzed. It was Dr. Park calling from her laboratory. "Commander, we have 5 reality cascade devices ready now. We need to test one soon. How sure are you about the safety zone?" Taiwan asked. The devices were powerful, but they needed to be careful. Breaking the laws of physics was dangerous. "Our calculations show the effect should stay within 50,000 kilometers," Dr. Park said. "But Commander, we've never tested it at full power. There could be surprises." Taiwan looked at another screen showing the Nexar fleet's approach. They were moving methodically, destroying everything in their path. Earth had perhaps 2 weeks before they arrived. "We need to test it today," he decided. "Choose a target far from any human settlements." An hour later, Taiwan stood with Earth's military leaders as they watched the test on their screens. The target was an empty Nexar supply base on an asteroid near Jupiter. One small ship would deliver the device. "Pilot reports device is in position," someone announced. "Counting down. 10, 9." Tai-1 held his breath. Everything depended on this working. 3, 2, 1. Device activated. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the sensors showed strange readings. The space around the Nexer base began to ripple, like waves in a pond. The base's shields flickered and died. Then its metal walls began to bend in impossible ways. "The quantum field is collapsing," Dr. Park reported through the speakers. "Everything within the target zone is experiencing random quantum fluctuations. Their technology can't function without stable quantum fields." They watched as the Nexer base twisted and broke apart. No explosion, no fire. It simply came undone, as if reality itself rejected its existence. "Test successful," Dr. Park announced, but her voice wasn't happy. "The effect is spreading exactly as calculated. It will stop at the predicted boundary." The room was quiet. They had just proved they could destroy the Nexer's technology completely. But the weapon felt wrong somehow. It didn't just destroy. It changed the basic rules of how things worked. "How many devices can we have ready for the main defense?" Ta-1 asked. 20 by next week. Maybe 30 if we push the production teams harder." Tai-1 looked at the other military leaders. They all knew what this meant. They had a weapon that could win the war, but using it would change space itself in ways they didn't fully understand. "Prepare deployment plans," he ordered. "But we need strict rules about where we can use them. We can't risk damaging the space around Earth or our colonies." As the others left to begin preparations, Tai-1 stayed watching the screens. The destroyed Nexer base was now just a cloud of broken pieces, floating in space that no longer followed normal rules. They would save Earth with this weapon, but he wondered what the universe would look like when they were done. Some victories came with prices that couldn't be calculated. The real question was, were they ready to pay that price? Captain Yoon Hee Choi watched the Nexer colony world grow larger on the main screen of the UES Dauntless. The planet looked peaceful from space, its purple oceans and green landmasses showing no sign of the advanced civilization that lived there. "All systems ready," reported her weapons officer. "Reality cascade device is armed." Yoon Hee touched the command chair's controls, opening a channel to the whole ship. "This is your captain speaking. Today we show the Nexer that humanity will not go quietly. Today we strike back." The Dauntless had been chosen for this mission because it was Earth's fastest ship. They would drop the reality cascade device and escape before the effects began. At least that was the plan. "Nexer defense platforms detecting us," called out the sensor officer. "They're powering up weapons." "Stay on course," Yoon Hee ordered. "All power to forward shields." The first Nexer shots came as bright green beams of energy. The Dauntless shook as they hit the shields, but the ship kept going. They had trained for this moment for 2 weeks straight. "Entering deployment range in 30 seconds, the navigation officer announced. More Nexer ships appeared from behind the planet's moons. They were bigger than the Dauntless, their black diamond shapes blocking out the stars behind them. "They're trying to box us in," Yoon Hee realized. "Release the device now. We can't risk getting caught in its effect." The bottom of the ship opened, releasing the small silver device. It looked so harmless, floating down toward the planet. "Device away. Beginning countdown." "All engines full reverse," Yoon Hee commanded. "Get us out of here." The Dauntless turned sharply, its engines burning bright as it tried to escape. The Nexer ships followed, their weapons filling space with green energy beams. 10 seconds until device activation. A direct hit rocked the ship. Aft shields failing. 5 seconds. "Hold on," Yoon Hee shouted. The reality cascade activated. At first, there was only a small ripple in space, like heat waves over hot ground. Then the ripple grew, spreading outward faster and faster. On the main screen, they watched as the effect reached the nearest Nexer ships. Their perfect diamond shapes began to twist and bend. Their weapons stopped firing. Their shields flickered and died. "It's working," someone whispered. The ripple kept spreading, reaching the planet's surface. Nexer cities began to break apart as the quantum fields they depended on collapsed. Their advanced technology simply stopped working, destroyed by the changed laws of physics. The effect is stronger than predicted, reported the science officer. It's covering the whole planet. He watched in silence. They had just won their first major victory against the Nexer. But the sight of an entire world being unmade was not something to celebrate. Send the recording to Earth Command, she ordered quietly. They need to see what this weapon really does. The crew worked in silence as they turned the ship toward home. Behind them, the Nexer colony world floated in space, its civilization reduced to broken pieces. The reality cascades effect would keep that space changed for years, maybe centuries. He looked at the faces of her crew. They had won, yes. But in their eyes, she saw the same question she was asking herself. What had they just unleashed on the universe? The war had entered a new phase, and there would be no going back. Admiral Du Young Lee studied the latest battle reports in Earth's Central Command Center. The room was filled with the soft hum of computers and quiet conversations of military officers. The large screens on the walls showed the current state of the war, and for the first time in months, humanity was winning. Another successful deployment in the Centauri system, reported his strategic officer. The Nexer fleet there has been completely disabled. Do Young nodded, but his expression remained serious. The reality cascade weapons were working better than anyone had expected, perhaps too well. Dr. Park entered the command center, looking tired. She had been working non-stop to produce more devices. Admiral, we need to talk about something important. She laid out several data tablets on the command table. The screens showed strange energy patterns spreading through space. The quantum disruptions aren't staying contained, she explained. They're growing slowly, connecting with each other. Every time we use a reality cascade, the effect gets a little stronger, spreads a little further. Do Young frowned. What does this mean for our strategy? Before Dr. Park could answer, emergency alerts flashed across all screens. The Nexer had launched their biggest attack yet. Their ships were appearing everywhere, not just near human colonies, but also around neutral alien worlds. They're desperate, Du Young realized. They know they're vulnerable now. They're trying to end this war quickly. Reports came in from all sectors. The Nexer were attacking with a fury no one had seen before. Their ships ignored damage, fought until they were completely destroyed. They had nothing left to lose. Launch our prepared strikes, Du Young ordered. Use all available reality cascade devices. Dr. Park grabbed his arm. Admiral, wait. If we use too many at once. But the orders were already given. Across space, human ships deployed their weapons. Reality cascade devices activated one after another, their effects rippling through the stars. The results were immediate. Nexer fleets crumbled. Their mighty ships twisted and broke apart as the laws of physics changed around them. Their weapons stopped working. Their advanced technology failed. But something else was happening too. Sir, called out the sensor officer, the disruption zones. They're merging. The effect is spreading faster than we calculated. On the main screen, they watched as areas of changed space grew and connected. Entire sectors of space were becoming unstable. Both human and Nexer ships had to avoid these areas completely. The Nexer are falling back everywhere, reported the strategic officer. Their empire is starting to break apart. Some of their worlds are asking for peace. It should have been a moment of triumph. Humanity had found a way to defeat an enemy that had seemed unbeatable, but the cost was becoming clear. Dr. Park's voice was quiet but firm. We've changed things that were never meant to be changed. The fabric of space itself is starting to unravel in some areas. If this continues, she didn't need to finish. Everyone in the room understood. They had found a way to win the war, but they might have damaged the universe itself in the process. Do Young looked at the spreading zones of changed space on the main screen. Send word to all ships. No more reality cascade deployments without direct authorization from Earth Command. We need to understand what we've done before we make things worse. The war wasn't over, but it had entered a new and dangerous phase. The question now wasn't just about winning or losing. It was about whether the universe itself could survive the weapons they had created. Captain Sun Mi Kang stood on the bridge of her ship, the UES Swift, staring at the strange sight before her. A massive area of space had turned purple and black, swirling like storm clouds. This wasn't supposed to happen. The reality cascade effects were growing out of control. "Status report," she ordered, keeping her voice steady despite her fear. Her science officer looked up from his instruments. "The quantum disruption is spreading faster now. It's already consumed 3 star systems. If we don't stop it, it could reach Earth in 2 weeks. Sun Mi touched her communication panel. "Dr. Park, are you seeing this?" "Yes," Dr. Park's voice came through clearly. "The effect has become self-sustaining. The changed areas of space are pulling in normal space around them. It's like a quantum storm that keeps growing stronger." Through the main window, Sun Mi watched as a small asteroid drifted into the edge of the purple-black cloud. The rock twisted, stretched, and then simply vanished. The laws of physics no longer worked properly in that space. "We're detecting a Nexer ship approaching," reported her sensor officer. "But something's different. They're not attacking. They're sending a message." Sun Mi straightened in her chair. "Put it on screen." The image showed a Nexer officer, but not the proud, threatening alien she expected. This one looked worried. "Human vessel," the Nexer said, "we must work together. Our scientists have studied the quantum storms. They will destroy everything if we don't stop them." Before Sun Mi could respond, new alarms sounded throughout the ship. "Captain," her science officer shouted, "the storm is accelerating. It's pulling in more space." The purple-black cloud was growing visibly larger now. Both the human and Nexer ships had to fire their engines at full power to stay away from its edge. "Dr. Park," Sun Mi called urgently, "what are our options?" "The Nexer are right," Dr. Park replied. "We need their help. Their understanding of quantum physics might be the key to stopping this, but we have to act fast." Sun Mi looked at the Nexer on her screen. Just days ago, they had been bitter enemies. Now they faced a threat that could destroy them all. "This is what we'll do," she announced to both crews. "We'll combine our ship's power. Create a containment field around the storm. It might buy us enough time to find a solution." The Nexer officer nodded. "Agreed. We will follow your lead, Captain Kang." The 2 ships moved into position on opposite sides of the growing storm. Their engines glowed brightly as they generated powerful energy fields, trying to contain the chaos between them. "Field strength at maximum," reported the engineering officer. "But it's not enough. We need more power." Sun Mi opened a channel to all nearby ships, both human and Nexer. "This is Captain Kang. We need help. Every ship with power to spare. Join us now. The universe itself is at stake." As she waited for responses, Sun Mi watched the quantum storm rage between the ships. They had created these weapons to save humanity. Now they had to save everything else from their creation. The war had brought them to this point. Perhaps peace would show them the way back. Dr. Ji Woo Park worked frantically at her computer station aboard the UES Swift. Next to her sat Ixel, the Nexer chief scientist. They had been working together for 3 days straight, trying to find a way to stop the quantum storms that threatened to destroy everything. "The containment fields are failing," Captain Sun Mi's voice came through the speakers. Outside, dozens of ships from both sides were using all their power to hold back the purple-black chaos that kept growing. "We're close to a solution," Ixel said, his silver skin reflecting the light from the monitors. "Our combined understanding of quantum physics is showing us something new." Jai Wu nodded, typing faster. The Nexer understood quantum fields in ways humans never had, while humans saw patterns the Nexer had missed. Together, they were learning how reality itself worked. The reality cascade devices changed space by creating quantum disruptions, Ji-woo explained to the bridge crew. But we can reverse that process. Use the same principle to restore stability. How? Sunma asked. We need to create an anti-cascade, Ixel answered. A wave that cancels out the disruptions instead of causing them. But it will take enormous power. Admiral Do Young's voice joined the conversation from Earth Command. Whatever power you need, you'll have it. All ships are at your disposal. Ji-woo looked at the final calculations on her screen. We'll need every ship, human and Nexer, to direct their energy into a single point. The timing must be perfect. The next hour was filled with careful preparation. Ships moved into position around the quantum storm, which had now grown larger than a solar system. Both human and Nexer crews worked together, following Ji-woo and Ixel's instructions. All ships report ready, Sunma announced. Ji-woo took a deep breath. Beginning anti-cascade sequence. All ships, direct your energy on my mark. The screen showed hundreds of ships, once enemies, now arranged in a perfect circle around the storm. Their weapons and engines were pointed inward, ready to fire. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Energy beams from every ship shot forward, meeting at a single point. The combined power was incredible, lighting up space brighter than a sun. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly the purple-black chaos began to shrink. Normal space returned wherever the anti-cascade wave touched. It's working. Ixel exclaimed. The quantum fields are stabilizing. Hour by hour, the storm grew smaller. Ships maintained their positions, pouring all their power into the effort. Finally, the last traces of disrupted space faded away. The bridge erupted in cheers. Human and Nexer crew members celebrated together, their past hatred forgotten in the joy of survival. Later, as ships began their journeys home, Ji-woo stood with Ixel in the observation room. They watched the stars, now shining normally again. We were wrong about humans, Ixel said quietly. We thought your ability to create weapons made you dangerous, but it was your ability to stop using them that made you worthy of trust. Ji-woo smiled. And we learned that those we fear might become our greatest allies. The universe is vast. Perhaps we need each other more than we knew. The war was over. The reality cascade weapons were destroyed by mutual agreement. But something new had been created in their place, understanding between two species who had nearly destroyed each other. As the UES Swift headed back to Earth, human and Nexer ships flew side by side. They had learned the hardest lesson of all, that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't a weapon at all. It was the willingness to work together.